So last time we stopped with shock waves, where we studied all the concepts like breaking time and shock wave solutions using characteristics for a simple equation like an inviscid Burgess equation. Now we'll move on to rarefaction waves. Here again we'll be looking at inviscid Burgess equations. So the difference between shock and rarefaction waves is that in shock waves we had converging characteristics. Because of that, uh, we had intersection of characteristics and we landed into multiple solutions. So and then we found a shock wave solution. I mean, we found the speed of the shock wave and made the solution to be piecewise continuous uh, on the left and right side of the shock, whereas on the right on the shock wave it was a discontinuity. So now when it comes to rarefaction waves, we have diverging characteristics. That is, we do not have solution at all at in some regions. So now how do we go about in finding the solution for this kind of waves? So let's say you have an inviscid Burgess equation, which is ut plus ux equals 0, and you have this domain. And now you have this kind of an initial condition for x less than x naught, your u is ul, and for x greater than or equal to x naught, u is equal to ur. So now, can someone tell me when shock waves will occur and when rarefaction wave will occur? In the sense, when will we have converging characteristics and when will we have diverging characteristics? So, looking at UL and UR, we can have two conditions like UL greater than UR and UL less than UR. So, which of these two will lead to converging and which one will lead to diverging is what I'm asking. I mean, diverging characteristics and converging characteristics. So, can anyone tell me? Okay, let me tell you something. This was our characteristic equation. So now, can you tell me, looking at this equation, can you tell me which of these two conditions will lead to converging and diverging characteristics? We drew the characteristics in the xt plane. X was in the x-axis and t was in the y-axis. So in this plane, which of these two will lead to converging and diverging characteristics? So can someone come forward? Okay, so let me show you this picture. We have this is the plot at time t equals 0, this one. So here we have ul less than ur. So dx by dt equals u is the equation for characteristics. So in the region x less than x naught, our dx by dt is going to be ul. And in the region x greater than or equal to x naught, we'll be having dx by dt as ur. So when ul is less than ur, in that case, in the left side of x naught, we'll have less ul is less than ur, right? So we'll have less inclination towards x and more inclination towards t. I'll do it in the characteristic plot. So this is tx plot. So suppose this is x naught. So to the left side of x naught, your dx by dt is ul. To the right side of x naught, your dx by dt is ur. Since ur is greater than ul, uh, if you look at the equation, it's dx by dt equals ur. So so dx by dt to the right of x naught is greater than dx by dt to the left of x naught, which means that you'll have more inclination towards x and less inclination towards t on the right of x naught, whereas on the left of x naught you'll have less inclination towards x and more inclination towards t. If you look at that's what I've drawn over here. The angle here is bigger than the angle the angle on the other side. Similarly, for something over here, we have more inclination towards x. So this angle is less than this angle towards t. Are you getting it? So this will lead to diverging characteristics. On the other hand, when ul is greater than ur, so now dx by dt to the, let's say, to the left of x naught, we'll have more inclination towards x and less inclination towards t. And to the right of x naught, we'll have more inclination towards t and less towards x. So this will lead to converging characteristics. This will lead to intersection. You're getting it? Any doubts here?
Ma'am.
Okay. So now we saw the conditions for when we have converging characteristics and when we have diverging characteristics. So whenever ul is less than ur for the Imvizit-Burgess equation case and for such a kind of an initial condition, we always end up in getting diverging characteristics. It is for this kind of an initial condition. It is for this kind of an initial condition, we always end up in getting diverging characteristics. That is at x equals x naught. These are the curves. Towards the left of x naught, we have dx by dt equals ul, and towards the right of x naught, we have dx by dt equals ur. And since ul is less than ur, they are diverging. They don't intersect anywhere. So since they are diverging, you have some region left over here without any characteristics. So in this region, how are we going to find the solution is what we'll be talking about. So now, since we considered such a simple case, that is for x less than x naught, we had ul. And for x greater than or equal to x naught, we had ur. This picture is wrong. So this will be filled in and here it will be empty. So we have a jump discontinuity here. So but if you look at physical cases, do you have jump discontinuity everywhere? Like, do you have sudden jump discontinuities like this? Can someone come forward and explain me this? Like, my question is, do you have jump discontinuities like this in physical cases? The initial condition.
Yes, ma'am, we do have such discontinuities.
I mean, is it exactly jump discontinuity or?
It won't be exact actually,
Okay.
but it'll be
Yes.
well, like across a shock we have
Mm.
like Across a normal shock, we get at the behind the shock, we'll start getting subsonic velocities. So there's a huge discontinuity between upstream and downstream velocities.
Yes. In the physical case, you do have such discontinuities. Okay. Across the shock wave, you have discontinuities toward on the left. When you compare the left and right side, you do have discontinuities. But the shock wave doesn't happen just at a point. It happens in some region. So, which is very small again. This region may be some delta x. That is very small. So, you consider an equivalent physical case, which now this we actually considered a jump discontinuity at the point x naught. Now we relax it in the sense that we consider two different points, x naught minus a and x naught plus b, towards the left and right of x naught. Now there is a discontinuity. If we look at the region here, we do have discontinuity between we have UL to the left and UR to the right. So now, but still inside the shock, if you look at what happens inside this region, inside this discontinuity, things are varying. But that is too sudden. That variation is too sudden. However, things are varying. So for this kind of a condition, initial condition, if you plot a shock, plot the characteristics, that is Tx plot. Now, if you plot it if you look, you'll have dx by dt equals ul for the region x less than x naught minus a, and dx by dt equals ur for the region x greater than x naught plus b. However, for this region in between, you will have some other thing, right? Dx by dt equals something. It keeps varying in this region. U is not constant, U is varying. So let me just say it has some U, and that is what is going to be there in the region between x naught minus a then x less than x naught plus b. So this U is lies between UL and UR. So now we had UL less than UR. Now since U all, we have this, we already wrote it here. So if you look at this, UL is less than U and U is less than UR. So to the left of x naught minus a, that is in this region, your dx by dt is UL. So as we saw earlier, if UL is less than UR, things are diverging. So, and also to this side, to the right side, your dx by dt equals UR. Here it is UR and here it is UL. For this region in between, you have dx by dt equals U, which is here U is defined as UL less than UR, U less than UR, and U keeps varying at each and every point. We have different U because here in this region between x naught minus a and x naught plus b, your U is varying, but that is too sudden, but still it's varying. So at each and every point over here, we have different slope. So we have such a fan kind of thing. So now we have modified this initial problem, that is this problem which had a proper jump discontinuity at x naught, to a problem wherein we have a jump discontinuity in the region between x naught minus a and x naught plus b. Now let's again convert this into a problem again with a jump discontinuity at x naught. If you move a and B close enough towards x naught, what will happen? Things get converged towards x naught. So this slanting line now becomes a straight line. So you know, at x naught now you see you have multiple values for u. Initially we had just one value for u at x naught, which is ur. But now we have multiple values of u at x naught. For this kind of an initial condition, what will be our characteristic plot? So we obtained this initial condition just by moving a and b just close to 0, such that x naught minus a and x naught plus b move towards x naught. So now this point, this point and this point, that is x naught minus a and x naught plus b move towards x naught, so that we have just multiple characteristics just at x naught, instead of all of these characteristics, many characteristics that we had in this region x naught minus a and x naught plus b just move towards x naught, so that we have multiple characteristics with different slopes at x naught itself. So for this kind of a problem, this becomes for this kind of an initial condition, this becomes the characteristic plot. Got it? Any doubts here? Any doubts?
No, no.
Okay. So we have just transformed a problem wherein we had no characteristics at all in this region to a problem wherein we have multiple characteristics coming from just one point x naught, which means at the initial at initial time t equals 0, this is the plot of u and u at time t equals 0 with respect to x. So if you look at x naught, we have multiple solutions. We have multiple values for u at x naught. So that results in such a kind of a characteristic plot. So, but still, even though we have multiple solutions at time t equals 0, that only happens at the initial condition. It doesn't happen at all times. For any time t greater than 0, if you look at this plot, these are time t greater than 0. Here we don't have any converging characteristics. Everywhere the solution is unique, and the solution is determined by the characteristic that goes across that point. So at every point there is only one characteristic going through it. So for any t greater than 0, you have unique solution. Only at t equals 0, at x naught, you have multiple characteristics passing through it, and there are multiple solutions at x naught at t equals 0 again. So now let's define this pictorial representation formally. It is when we have this characteristic plot, it almost is like finding the solution. But let's try to express it mathematically. So let's look at this region again. For x minus x naught less than ult, that is this region. This characteristic which I am showing over here is given, has the equation x equals x naught plus ult, and this characteristic which is over here has the equation x equals x naught plus urt. That is, at x naught you have multiple characteristics, but the leftmost characteristic that passes through x naught has this equation, and the rightmost characteristic that passes through x naught has this equation. And all those characteristics in between have different equations. So now, let me just say that towards left of x naught, we have this equation for x minus x naught less than ult. So since this is ult, this is x minus x naught equals ult. And for all characteristics towards left of x naught, we put less than ult. And for this is x minus x naught equals urt. And for all characteristics towards right of this characteristic that I mentioned, we have this greater than expression. So we have u defined. On the left side we have u equals ul, and on the right side we have u equals ur. Now we only have to find what u is in this region. That is in this region. So that region is given by this expression. ULT less than x minus x naught less than mean x minus x naught is lying between ULT and URT in this region. So now we also know that U is constant along each of these characteristics lying in this region. That is, there are multiple characteristics with multiple slopes, but along each characteristic we know that U remains constant, and we don't know what that constant is, but U is some constant along each of these characteristics. So with that knowledge, we'll proceed. We'll go on to finding the solution for U in this region. So now we try to write an expression for each of these characteristics. That write an equation for each of these characteristics. That becomes x equals x naught plus ct. I mean, usually have uh, this is a plot tx in the tx plane. So our equation consists of tx and x naught, which is the point at which we are plotting the characteristic. So for this equation, since we have multiple slopes here, and c is going to be the slope. I mean slope. By slope I mean okay. Since it is a tx plot, for each of these characteristics, the slope is going to be 1 by c. And here for these characteristics, slope will be 1 by ur, and for these it will be 1 by ul. So this is the slope. It's like when you write this equation in this form, t equals 1 by cx plus x naught by c. So this is your slope, and this is your intercept. So okay, and here in this region we have c lying between ul and ur, because when c equals ul, we'll get this characteristic, and when c equals ur, we'll get this characteristic. So we do not want them to converge, so we make c lie between ul and ur. So this represents the equation for each of the characteristic passing through this region. So now we already said that U is constant along each of these characteristics. So let's now assume a form for U. That is U of x. So let's just take U of x comma t equals some function of x minus x naught by t. Because U is dependent on each of the characteristic, and the characteristic equation is given by this. This, if you look at this, we'll have x minus x naught by t equals c. So U is solely dependent on the character. I mean, U is constant along each of the characteristic. That means U is dependent on each of the characteristic passing through that point, and x naught is same for all the characteristic. X and t are going to be different, so which is identified by c. So if c is different for each of the characteristic passing through this region, that is, for each of these single characteristics, c is different. So each of the characteristic is determined by this quantity. So we just say u is a function of g of c, that is, u is a function of x minus x naught by t. And again, this is for this region that I mentioned, x between x naught plus ult and x naught plus urt. It is this region. Again, we are always talking about this region, and that keeps coming up everywhere I mentioned this. So now for this kind of solution that we assume, let's just find ut and ux. So ut will be g prime of x naught minus, this is derivative with respect to x minus x naught by t. And again, when by chain rule, when we take the derivative with respect to t, we get this quantity. Similarly, doing the derivative with respect to x, we get this expression. Now substituting these two in ut plus ux equals 0, we get such an expression. So now either of these two must be 0. Let's just say let's just see what happens if this quantity becomes 0. So if g prime of x minus x naught by t is 0, we then have g of x minus x naught by t to be constant. which means u is constant in whole of the region. We only said that u is constant along each of the characteristic. That is, u is going to be a different constant for this characteristic and different constant for this characteristic. However, it remains constant along each of the characteristic. But here what we infer is if g prime is 0, u is going to be constant in whole of the region, whole of this region, like, which means that in whole of this region along every characteristic u is going to be the same constant. So now what does the plot ux looks like for any time t greater than 0? Let's just say this is for any time t greater than 0. How does u versus x looks like for this kind of the solution that we obtained? So we already saw to the left of x naught plus ult we have u equals ul, and to the right of x naught plus urt we have u equals ur, and in this region in between we obtained that u equals constant. It is some constant, let's just call it a. It can be either above ur or below ul or in between ul and ur. I've just drawn one case here. So we have not yet evaluated this constant. So now it can be either of the three. It can either be above, below, or in between. So let's just consider this case. So now we have two discontinuities, two shocks forming it. So in that case, when we have two shocks, we can use the Rankine-Hugoniot conditions which we saw last time to find the speed of each of the shocks. So for Invisit-Burgess equation, can someone tell me what my Rankine-Hugoniot condition was? So we evaluated Rankine-Hugoniot conditions last time for a general case. Then we got a special equation for Invisit-Burgess equation. Special Rankine-Hugoniot condition corresponding to only Invisit-Burgess equation, which was this: dx by dt equals half into across every shock, every discontinuity, we'll have two values for u, right? One here, one here. We just take these two values. Let me just in general call it u small l and u small r. Like across every discontinuity, we have some ul and ur. That is, to the left and right, we have different values. That becomes u small l and u small r. Now, so we have identified these two discontinuities as S1 and S2. So let's just see what the speed of S1 will be. It is speed of the first shock wave will be. So that will be dx by dt equals half ul. This small ul is going to be this one, capital ul, and this small ur, that is towards the right of this shock, we have ur equals a. So we have an a here. So our expression becomes half into ul plus a. Similarly, for the shock S2, it is for this one. This ul is a, and this ur is this u suffix capital R. So we have this as the speed for second shock. So now we have evaluated the speed of two shocks using the Rankine-Hugoniot conditions. But if you, but we already saw saw the equation for each of these characteristics, right? Which was x minus x naught equals ult and x minus x naught equals urt. So from these characteristics itself, we can find the speed of each of these waves. So from this, if we evaluate dx by dt, it's going to be ul, and from this, if we evaluate dx by dt, it's going to be ur. So so for S1, dx by dt is ul from the equation of characteristic, and for S2, dx by dt equals ur. and these two are not same. They are not same. The dx by dt which we evaluated from Rankine-Hugoniot condition and dx by dt which we evaluated from the equation for characteristic, they are not same. So this leads to some contradiction. So if we take g prime as 0, we end up in getting a contradiction. So now let's just consider the other case. What if this quantity is 0? If let me say if g prime is 0, we end up in getting two shock waves, and that leads to a contradiction. Actually, we cannot have two shock waves because of this contradiction, because the speed which we evaluate from Rankine-Hugoniot condition does not match with the speed which we evaluate from the equation for characteristic. So now considering this this thing, the other case, which is this g by t minus x naught minus x naught x minus x naught by t squared is 0. So from this, taking t outside, and since t is finite, t is greater than 0, but we do not look at some infinite time, we look at some finite time. So 1 by t is never 0. So we end up in this. So for the we get such an equation: x minus x naught by t equals g of x comma t. So our g of x comma t is u of x comma t. We assumed u to be g, right? Right. Here it has to be g of x minus x naught. Okay, let it be. It's just g of x comma t. We just assumed u to be this. And this is what is this. So now we have u as x minus x naught by t. So in this, we found the solution for u in this region, in the expansion region, which is this. ULT less than x minus x naught less than URT. So again we have shown the characteristic plot. Then we've shown a different u versus x plot at different times. So at time t equals 0, that is for initial time t naught, we have such an equation, such a plot which I showed you earlier. Now what happens for some time t greater than t naught? That is, if you consider some time t over here, what happens? So to the if for in this region, like from left to this region, that is still x minus x naught equals ULT. That is x equals x naught plus ULT. So till x equals x naught plus ULT, you have u equals UL. And also from x equals x naught plus URT, this is the character, this one rightmost blue cap is the rightmost one is x equals x naught plus URT. So towards the right of this, we have u equals UL. So we identify the point x naught plus URT, and towards the right of that point, we have u equals UR. And for the region in between, we found u to be u of xt equals x minus x naught by t. So for each and every x over here, we will have different u, and that is evaluated using this expression. So when we evaluate that and plot, it's a slanting line with such a slope, which is an expansion wave. If you look at time t equals 0, we have such a discontinuity, and at greater times, this discontinuity starts expanding. For further greater times, if you see, this region becomes wide, which means this slanting region will become more slanting. That is, this point will still move towards left, and this point will still move towards right over time because of this, because of the shape of the characteristic. So you will have this red line will expand further and further over time. So this leads to an expansion wave, which is also called as the rarefaction wave. So any doubts until here? Any doubts? You're welcome to ask anything. Is it understandable?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So let me get into something known as entropy condition. So before going into that, I'll give you a motivation for why we do that. So here when we tried to find this expansion wave solutions, we had two possibilities, right? G prime equals 0 led into formation of two shocks. We somehow showed that it's not possible. Uh, but sometimes um, it will be more convenient if you have a general checker rule, like some rule to check whether this will be possible or not for some equation. So that checking rule is known as the entropy condition. So usually, if for the Navier-Stokes equation, you have entropy. For the Euler's equation, you do have entropy. So there, in the physical scenarios, what do you think entropy represents? So what does entropy represent in the physical case? What do you infer from entropy? Can someone explain? Using the after quantifying entropy, what do you infer from it? For any physical scenario, you decide whether some scenario can happen or not using this entropy quantification. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So for any physical scenario, you just say that something goes in some direction over time, but you determine whether it is possible or not using entropy, using your quantification for entropy change. So if it's greater than something, if your rate of change of entropy is positive, or if entropy increases over time, you say that the scenario that you're talking about is possible, that can happen. Other, if entropy change is negative, or if entropy decreases over time, you say that the scenario that you're talking about cannot happen, or it's not possible for it to happen. So that's what physically entropy means. For some system of equations, you have another entropy equation which helps you to determine whether some scenario can happen or not. So now for this, we have two different scenarios: formation of two shock waves or formation of an expansion wave. So for the same initial condition and for the same system of equations, we have two different situations, right? Over time, we can have either formation of two shock waves, or we can have um, an expansion wave. So let's see how the definition of entropy here enables us to determine which is possible and which is not possible. So that is what we call as entropy condition. Here, this is nowhere relevant to the physical entropy that you have. We just use the term entropy here because it helps us to determine whether something can happen or not. So this is not directly related to the physical equations. I mean the entropy corresponding to Euler's or Navier-Stokes equations. We have a simple Burgers equation, a scalar equation which is just ut plus ux equals 0. For that, let's have an entropy condition, which is this. So you have some solution, right? U of x comma t. We say that some solution U of x comma t satisfies entropy condition if we are able to find some positive constant E such that this holds. That is, consider some point x, which is this one, and some h greater than 0. So you have some x plus h towards the right of x. So you find the value of u at both of these points. That is u at x plus h minus u at x. Everything is found. We look at the whole equation at some time t, at just one time. So this is a plot u versus x at some specific time t greater than 0. So now for this plot, we have the value of u at both x plus h and x. So we can now evaluate this u of x plus h minus u of x by h. Now we'll have to see if it is possible to find some e such that this is less than or equal to this quantity. So this is basically a condition on the slope of the profile at every time. So since we only have a bound on the right side, if you look at the red line that I've drawn over here, this red line that I've drawn over here is the slope, is basically this quantity, is the slope of this red line is this expression basically. So now if we are able to find something such that if you are able to find a bound for this slope, that is an upper bound. So you don't, this slope is positive here. Let me just draw this slope alone separately. You have some, so you have a line now, which is the slope of this line is given by your expression on this left side of this equation. So at this time t, you for sure you can find some e, right? This slope is going to be constant. It's not varying over time. I mean, you have plot. Okay. So now this theta is given by this this expression is it gives this theta. So now at some time t, some specific time t, this theta is constant. So for some constant t, for sure you can find some bound, right? Such that this theta is less than or equal to some quantity by t. Do you see the possibility of finding such t e? I mean, do you have any objection in finding such an e? Can someone say if you have any objection? Okay, so let me.
We know, ma'am. We can just say E is equal to like slope times t.
Yeah, you are always able to find some e. Yes.
Like except when the slope is infinite.
Exact value is e slope times t. Yes. So now, what if instead of this, what if your line was like this? Now the slope is not. You have an angle though, but this value is going to be infinity in that case. Is it? Okay, now if this is your slope, now u of x plus h and what? This is your u of x. This is actually not infinity, you have 0 by 0. Okay, instead of saying, but you take h to be non-zero. That is h to be very small, such that you have u of x plus h minus u of x to be 0. Right, okay. So let me explain you with these pictures. So basically this condition that you have over here, this has an this has an upper bound, but this does not have a lower bound, which means you don't have something like let me call it f. You don't have something like this on the left side. You only have some quantity on the right side. So you only have an upper bound for this expression. You do not have a lower bound, which means that you have a restriction for your slope to keep increasing, but you do not have any restriction for your slope to keep decreasing. That is, you allow for such a kind of thing to happen. That is, you allow for such a kind of thing to happen wherein your slope is negative on the other side. You do not put a bound for the amount that the slope has to be negative, but you do put a bound for the amount that the slope has to be positive. So in that case, this condition basically does not restrict your curve from having steep negative slopes, but it does restrict your slope from having, your curve from having steep positive slopes. So that is what it says. Because your lower bound is minus infinity, but your upper bound cannot be plus infinity. It has to be some fixed positive number. Your E has to be some positive quantity. And this has to happen for all t, for all h greater than 0 and for all x. That is, if you fix the frame at some time t and you plot u of x, and this condition has to be satisfied at each and every x, and for a specific x it should be satisfied for each and every h greater than 0. If you fix some x here, this condition has to be satisfied for whatever h you take. That is, towards the right of x, whatever point you take, this condition has to be satisfied. And it has to be satisfied for all x's. For all points, you have to check this. And this has to be checked for all time as well. So if such a thing holds, this condition is true. Then you say that your u of x comma t satisfies this entropy condition. So is there any doubt over here? Any doubts?
Why is it called the entropy condition? Like, where does entropy come into picture?
Yeah, that's what. Your physical entropy has no role here. It's called as an entropy condition because you determine whether something can happen or not using this condition. So using this condition, you can say that such a thing can happen. That is when, let's say this is UL and this is UR. When UL is greater than UR, you can have shock waves. But when UL is less than UR, you cannot have shock waves. So this condition is, this thing is inferred from this condition. So you determine whether something is possible or not using your using this condition. That is why it's known as entropy condition. It's just some terminology that is inspired from physics.
Okay, I got it.
So yeah, previously we saw that this formation of two shocks, we started with some initial condition wherein we had UL less than UR. We saw the possibility of having shock as well as expansion. But we ended up in a contradiction when it came to shock case. So an equivalent of that is seen through entropy condition. Here again, through entropy condition, we see that when UL is less than UR, it's not possible to have shocks, but it's possible to have expansion. When UL is less than UR, here we have something like when UL is less than UR, now if you look at some x over here and x plus h over here, you have a slope. But when we go further close, okay, so let me consider some point x over here and some x plus h or some h over here. Now this will be my x plus h. Here slope is going to be too steep. Got it? Your slope is going to be too steep and it's a positive slope. This is just for u at some time t greater than 0, and we told that this condition has to be satisfied for all of x. So if you go closer to this point where we have discontinuity, your x and x plus h are too close, which results in a very steep slope. But if you go further close, you'll have a much steeper slope. So you cannot find some specific E for the whole of this plot. So for all x, you should be able to find one single E. So this is just for one point you're able to find some E, but when you go closer further, you should be able to find something. So this E that you have, this, okay, here in this equation, this E that you have should be such that for all of x, the slope at every point x and for all different h, that is, this E should be constant. That it should be the upper bound for everything. In that case, you'll find this E that you have told over here, that theta into t. Let me call it as some other E because this E is different from the one that we have. So this will be E equals theta t. But however, at different points x and for different h, you will have different E. So you have to find some supremum or maximum of all possible E's for all x and for all h greater than 0 and for all t greater than 0. Then you write down every e over here and you find the maximum of that, and that is your capital E. Okay, so in that case it must be possible for you to find such an E always. But when you look at this plot wherein you have a discontinuity such that UL is less than UR, is it possible for you to find some E which is supremum of all of these small e's possible? Can someone tell me if it's possible to find such a capital E? In this case, wherein you have UL less than UR.
No, ma'am, not so.
Okay. But on the other hand, for this case, UL greater than UR, it's always possible because you have negative slope. Mean you do not have a bound on the negative side. If suppose we had a bound on the negative side, then this also would not happen, of course. But since we don't have a bound on the negative side and this slope is steep only on the negative side, we do not have any problem. We will always be able to find this E. So that is what is the difference. So and using this condition, you'll be able to say whether some scenario can happen or not. So for that you should check this condition and you have this thing. For all, this condition holds for all t, for all h greater than 0 and for all x. Okay, so now this is a comparison between something which we had earlier. The problem between, the problem wherein we had UL less than UR and we ended up in having two possibilities, right? So this is our initial time t naught. So at that in the initial time we have UL to the left of x naught and to the right of x naught we have UR, and we have we define x. We have multiple values at x naught. We talked about it earlier when we introduced rarefaction waves. So now for this problem, we ended up in having two possibilities. One is shock problem and one is expansion. And here, if you look at, we had two shocks initially, UL, A, and one between UL and A, this one, the other one between A and UR, this shock. So here, since we have UL less than A, this shock doesn't satisfy the entropy condition. Again, since we have A less than UR, this doesn't satisfy the entropy condition. So, right, if this is, if some quantity to the left, if it is less than some quantity to the right, then we cannot have a shock wave over there. So that is what is seen through the entropy condition. So this case doesn't satisfy the entropy condition, whereas the expansion case, for any time t greater than 0 or greater than some initial condition t naught, we showed the possibility of having an expansion wave. We had two solutions, right? Shock and expansion, and last time we told that shock is not possible because of some contradiction that happened. Now we are telling that shock is not possible because it doesn't satisfy the entropy condition. So now for this expansion, we initially did not have any contradiction for the expansion last time when we saw the rarefaction case. Now let's see whether this expansion wave satisfies the entropy condition. So for any time t greater than t naught, we'll always be able to find some E such that this condition satisfies. Because we have an expansion wave over here. So you say you find some x over here, some x plus h, you have some slope which is fixed. For every time you have some slope that is fixed. Unlike this shock case where you had where the slope was steep, here your slope is fixed. So you will always be able to find some E. So this expansion wave case satisfies this entropy condition. Any doubts here? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So that's it for today. Next class we'll see weak form of conservation law and weak solutions as well. And then we'll move to systems of conservation law. And until now we have seen scalar conservation law. From after seeing weak form of scalar conservation law, we get into system of conservation laws. In that, we'll have an example as Invisir-Euler's equation, Navier-Stokes equations, which are themselves systems. We have multiple equations there, right? 3 equations for conservation of mass, momentum, and energy. So that becomes a system. So we'll move on to systems of conservation laws in further classes. So has anyone tried the exercise? Like, is there any doubt or some clarification with regard to the exercise? Or just, it's not necessary that you should have completed by now. Have you just looked into the questions and just have seen how the questions are?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, like I wanted to ask if you could suggest some resources on PD characteristics, because I didn't know how to solve second or third one. Like I had no idea where to start.
Okay. So you can refer to Roger Noble. Also, you can refer to did I give you the references? Yeah, you can refer to this book, Roger Noble, Introduction to Mathematical Theory of Waves. You can also refer to, Godlewski and Reviat for the characteristics and all. Roger Noble will be quite simple. It is about scalar conservation law, whereas Godlewski and Reviat starts with systems. So you can refer to it later on when we move to systems. For now, you can look into this reference. Also, you can go through the notes. Go through this one note. This page will give you information on how to find the characteristics, method of characteristics page. Okay.
Ma'am, I also had one question. Like integral curves, like they need not necessarily be one curve. Like they can be a family of curves also that satisfy that.
Yeah, there can be a family of curves. We can even obtain 2 families can form another family as well. It's due to superposition of solutions, 2 family of solutions can superpose to form another family of solutions.
Okay. Okay.
You can always ask me if you have doubts. You can message me or email me anytime. So.
Yes, sure.
Okay. So any questions? Any more questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, we'll stop here. We'll meet tomorrow at 11 a.m. Okay.